Hey guys, I'm going to show you how to glaze a bisque. A bisque is a piece of pottery that came out of the kiln already cooked, so it's nice and hard like a stone. So we're going to paint it with the glaze. The glaze I'm going to pick is called Ocean Mist, and remember the color you pick is not going to be the same color that you see after it's cooked again, but when you're painting it, it's going to look different because it changes color and it changes to glass. For example, if you were to look at this example glaze, do you guys see this color? And it has specks in it. And these specks are really important. So if you see these in your glaze, not all of them have it, but if you see them, that means you put them on your bisque that you're painting. Because remember, those crystals actually expand when I cook them in the kiln again. And this color becomes like this color. So keep in mind that it changes. And those little crystals that you see in the paint is really important, so keep that in mind. The color I'm going to do is called Ocean Mist. So basically, I'm going to have this done ahead of time. It kind of looks like this. There's a few specks in this one, it's hard to see. But this color, you believe it or not, is going to become this color that you see on the screen. Each one's different, you never know. Alright. So when painting a bisque, you gotta make sure that you do 3 coats. First coat, second coat, and third coat. You have to let it air dry in between each coat. Because I have you guys for a short amount of time, we're gonna have to let it air dry and do 1 coat each class. So when you start painting, you're gonna have a clean brush to start with, and I'll provide you with that. And then we're going to start painting on the inside and working towards the outside. Or we're going to start on the outside actually, because you can hold it like this while you're painting. Now this is so important. When you're painting, make sure that you're not painting the bottom. The bottom has to breathe when I'm cooking it in the oven, like in the kiln. So make sure that you do not paint the bottom. You can paint near the bottom, but you have to leave some space on the bottom for it to breathe. And if you guys can see, I have little specks, crystals in the glaze already. This is not my pinch pot, but it's important for you guys to make sure, what I meant to say is, this is not my pinch pot, so there's lots of grooves in here I'm not familiar with, but even if you have weird spaces in your pinch pot, make sure that you're covering every inch. And try not to go over the same spot over and over, because that can lift up some of the paint. Just enough to cover it, not too thick, not too thin. And also make sure that you're taking your time and not rushing. So I'm almost done on the outside. Now I'm going a little fast. That doesn't mean you have to go that fast. Try not to touch the outside that you painted as well. So once I get that done, I'm holding it on with the inside so I don't have to touch it, because the less touching you do, the better. I'm going to set it down. And then I don't have to touch it when I start painting the inside. But because I'm doing a video, I kind of have to lift it up. So I'm almost done on my first coat, and then I'm going to start with the inside. Remember, keep it flat on the desk once you're painting the inside, so we can I'm covering every inch as I can, so make sure that you may have to hold it at different angles to cover it, but again, try not to touch the dish that you're painting. Alright, so my whole pinch pot is covered from top to bottom. So when you're looking at the edge here, say if it was standing, make sure you can't see the white spots. So that's what I meant when you do the bottom. Kind of go in a little bit to the bottom, but not cover the whole circle. And plus we can see your name. So here's the pinch pot with the first coat, and I'm trying not to handle it. So if you're carrying it, try to carry it with the palm of your hand so you're not touching the wet glaze. Try not to get paint and glaze, on the dust, because that can be wasteful. stuff is expensive, so I do not want it wasted. And please don't put a thick coat on your dish. So when I'm done with the glazing, I'm going to take your dish and put the breast back into the dish. Because if you have that much, that doesn't mean you use it all. Just bring it back to me, and I will be putting it where it needs to go. Beautiful thing is you get to pick any color you want, and keep in mind the color changes, it changes to glass. So don't worry if it looks different. If you guys look closely, those specks are going to expand and make a beautiful light blue color. And this purple color looks brown in the video, but it is like a light purple. That'll actually turn to green. So we have a mix of green, light blue, and it looks like a bit of dark green as well. So it'll be interesting to see what it looks like once I cook it. So remember, it takes 12 hours to dry, and you can see it still looks wet in some places. Even if it looks dry, that doesn't mean you go over it again, because if you go over it again, it can lift off that bottom layer that you just painted. So please do not overpaint. That is a big thing, because it can make it look kind of blotchy, like the paint doesn't cover as well, and some parts may look see-through. So please be careful not to overpaint where you just painted. That is such a big important thing. And we're going to try to do one coat a day, and then it has the 12 hours to dry in between, which is really good. So please make sure after you're done, make sure you cover every little white spot, because I am doing this now, checking to make sure every little section is covered, because that is so important, because that's going to show up later if you don't cover everything. Always handle your pinch pot with care. It can still break. Even if it has been fired once, this is still delicate and stuff can still happen. So treat it with care at all times, because it can still break on a hard surface, especially like the hard surface in our art room. Alright guys, I think that's a wrap. We're done of glaze number 1, and you'll be doing it 3 coats in the next week or so. Alright guys, see ya.